We're live, let's go. Sallam alayhim.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to our post-iftar pre-Taraweeh session and reflection of the Quran. So I'm here with Mufti Abdul Rahman. Mufti Sahib, how are you doing?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good. So, inshallah, we are going to be reciting the fifth juz tonight in our prayer. And can you love the how's the fifth juz for you? Do you find it difficult to read in salah, or is it easy?
It's difficult.
It's not easy,
It's easy.
Is it because it's Surah Nisa and it has to do with women, or just the words inside? What is it to it? Why is it difficult?
There's a lot of ahkam, mutashabihat. Usually the ayat about the dhikr of Allah and remembrance of Allah are just a little bit easier. They flow more on the tongue quicker, and also because you recite those ayat and ruku more in your normal salawat, and like typically a lot of the the ahkam ayat and stuff you don't tend to recite them in your regular salawat throughout the year. So I guess that's our fault.
I think Surah Nisa it's a tough surah, but it has a lot of beautiful meaning and depth, like the whole Quran. People who are joining us, Assalamu alaikum, welcome everyone. Sister Magda, Ruhma, everyone that's joining us from across the world, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And if we can please share and comment, that would be great. And when you guys participate in our discussion, Mufti Sahib gets excited. He gets very excited. He sees
just not the wahwa thing anymore. The wahwa thing's going viral, man.
Is it getting viral? It's okay. Mufti Sahib, when I read one of the comments, and this is what they were saying, and I got offended. They said, "Oh, we're enjoying the session with you and Mufti Sahib, and it's a good chemistry. It's a good balance. One is very knowledgeable and one is very funny." Now, I don't know who the knowledgeable person is, but they were calling one funny. And does that mean that I'm very illiterate or something? That I have no knowledge because they're calling me funny and I'm like the goof?
No, I don't think they mean that. I mean, honestly, there you go. Wahwa starting again. we gotta relax on the wahwa. See, the thing, Bajan, is I guess we whenever we talk about at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, people were having a good time talking about deen. We're just teaching people, and through our casual conversation, is that you can have an amazing time and still get reward, right? So, and plus people are down anyway, so it's hard to fake who we are. My older brother, Shaykh Abdullah, is a very humorous person, so he can't, get on the screen and talk like this and stuff, and so it's fine. You got to be who you are.
Have a poker face. But Mufti Sahib, let's go ahead.
You know how to change yourself in front of your wife. That's what you're good at. So.
Oh yeah, I practice a lot of workshops, a lot of literature has been read, and to keep that straight face.
So.
Bismillah, Mufti Sahib. Right away, we're going to go to verse number 41. What are the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Surah Nisa? What's one of the first things that comes to your mind?
First thing that comes to my mind when I think of Surah Nisa is the beautiful hadith, which you're going to mention, hopefully, is the one that...
Mufti Sahib, I feel like you're muted. Yeah. Can you start again?
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Whenever I think of Surah Nisa, I think of that hadith when the Prophet ﷺ told one of his blessed companions to recite Quran, and he chose to recite from Surah Nisa. So every time I think of Surah Nisa, I think of that hadith because it's powerful.
You know who the companion was that the Prophet ﷺ told to recite?
Bismillah, you go for it. Tell us.
Okay.
Everyone thinks you're humorous, so you got to answer some questions too.
I got to change the perception.
Yeah, you got to change the perception. Make people look knowledgeable.
لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Don't worry. So it's Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. The Prophet comes to Abdullah bin Mas'ud, اقرأ علي القرآن. Read Quran to me. Imagine the Prophet asking a Sahabi to read Quran to him. How it's an honor, but also the emotions and the nerve-wracking, the nervous feeling, at that experience. So he says, Mufti Sahib, when I used to read to my teachers, I would get very scared. Same thing with Taraweeh. I read it so many times, then I stand up. And in my community, there's a doctor, a very honorable person. His name is Dr. Jundi, right? He's a Jundi, he's a warrior. And when I read Salah, and he hears me make a mistake without any hesitation, so it gets me nervous. And the other people who are behind me, other Huffaz and Qurra. So imagine reading in front of the Prophet ﷺ So this Sahabi says, "Aqra'u alayka wa alayka unzil ya Rasulullah." You want me to read the Quran to you, and the Quran was revealed upon you? Like that is not an easy task. And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Uhibbu an asma' min ghayri." I want to hear the Quran from someone else, and it's good to hear the Quran from someone else too. And the Prophet ﷺ recited, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu recited Surah Nisa. Out of all the students he chose, Mufti Sahib, Surah Nisa. It's not an easy surah, like we talked about. It's a difficult surah. He recited Surah Nisa. It talks about divorce. It talks about inheritance. It talks about family rights. It's command after command. 10% of the Quran is ahkam, theological rulings, right? Laws. And a lot of that is in Surah Nisa. He comes to this ayah finally to verse number 41, and the Prophet ﷺ hears him recite, فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جِئْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ بِشَهِيدٍ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا. And when he recites his verse, of course, he was far more, his voice was more beautiful than mine. And he says, the Prophet says, Hasbuka al-an. Hasbuka al-an. Stop. And he looks up at the Prophet ﷺ, فَإِذَا عَيْنَاهُ تَذْرِفَانِ. He notices the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ just dripping with tears. Mufti Sahib, what is this verse saying that made the Prophet ﷺ cry?
So I'm not going to translate it first. The reason, the perspective behind this is, may Allah save us, may Allah save us. But picture ourselves in a courtroom, all right? And there's a judge, and there's a witness box, and there's a defendant. The prosecutor is saying this defendant did this crime, this crime, this crime. And you know, anyone who, Allah save us from courtrooms and hospitals. It's not good place to go to as visitors or anybody, right?
My one elder told me to ask Allah protection from 3 places.
Go ahead, say it.
Courtrooms, hospitals, unless you're making money, right? And the pulpit, the member, stage, because it can make you proud. So I just wanted, sorry to interject.
Yeah, amazing. So the courtroom, we've been in courtrooms before, and we know the experience of it. So you walk in, it's a very weird. You can't explain this feeling. Nothing's in your hands, you know. So here's this ayah. And so the defendant, the person who comes to testify against the defendant, imagine is the person's father. Would a father ever muster the courage? And if he's forced to, what do you think is going through his mind and his heart and his emotions at the moment where he has to testify against his own son? You know, think of those emotions, right? And here comes the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah is speaking to the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, telling them that the Nabi was sent among you, and the Ummah is denying that. So we never heard any message, we never saw the Prophet ﷺ, and to make sure you don't come anywhere near me in the next few days.
No.
To testify against the Ummah, who comes to the witness stand? It's the Prophet ﷺ. And who's the judge? It's Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ has to testify against his Ummah. And how will it be on that day when there will be a person who will come to testify from every prophet? And you will be brought and presented against your Ummah as a witness that you did, you know, you were sent down and the message was conveyed to them. So the Prophet ﷺ started crying because thinking, keep having those feelings, because a father's love can be probably captured, but a Nabi, the Prophet's love for his Ummah, cannot be captured into words. So imagine what he was going through when he was reading this ayah, and that's why he kept on crying and crying. And that's why, I mean, from this ayah, Allama Razi speaks about many different things, how we could avoid to make sure that, I mean, if you allow me, Bajan, I can mention a poem of Allama Iqbal over here.
Mufti Sahib, I've been here with you we're in the 5th juz, right? 5th night, I think. And I haven't heard you. I heard maybe once, and those Iqbal ki sher ko sunne ke baad mere baal khare ho jate hain. I get so excited. So when you, especially when you say it,
I'm gonna keep it simple for you, because so Allama Iqbal about the Day of Judgment, he says something very interesting, right? So like, one of the biggest motivating factors for us should be that we don't disappoint the Prophet ﷺ. We are not the ones, because of us, he's presented and he's hurt, right? Rather, we are the ones who remove the burden, remove the anxiety on the from the Prophet ﷺ on the Day of Judgment. So Allama Iqbal, he speaks about this, and this was a great motivation the Sahaba had. He says, and people claim this to be the best poem of Allama Iqbal. He says, "Tu ghani azhar do alam man faqir, roz mahshar uzr hai man pazir, gar tumi bini hisabam naguzir, az nigahe Mustafa pinha pagir." He says, "Oh Allah, you are ghani, meaning you are independent, you don't need anybody, you don't need anything. Azhar do alam man faqir, and oh Allah, I am dependent. Allah is ghani, and everybody else is faqir. We're always dependent on Allah. Roz mahshar uzr hay man pazir. Oh Allah, because you're not in need of anything, I request you on the Day of Judgment, let me just go through. Don't stop me for hisab." You know how with the hadith, Allah mahasibni hisaban yasira, the Prophet said, "Oh Allah, make my hisab very, very easy." And he was asked, what does that mean? He said, "Annahu man nuqisha bil hisab faqad halak." Anybody who's stopped for hisab, that person will not be able to answer the questions Allah is asking. And those of us who live across the border and we go across from Windsor and Detroit, a good example is like when you're crossing from Windsor over to Detroit, the border patrol officer asks, "Where were you? How long you go for?" And after, if he's satisfied with your answers, he lets you go through. And if he's not satisfied with your answer, or he's having a bad day, he puts an orange sticker on your windshield, and you have to go in for secondary clearance. And
a lot
of times, right? So Allama Iqbal basically saying, "Oh Allah, do not put an orange sticker on my windshield. Let me just go through. I don't want to be stopped." And then he says, "Gar tumi bini hisab na guzir." He said, "If you decide to take my hisab and my accountability, I have one request. Az nigahe Mustafa pinha pagir. Do not take my accountability in front of the Prophet ﷺ, because I don't want to disappoint him. Where he's going to see me and say, 'Iqbal, you are from my ummah and you forgot who I was and what I did for you, all those nights where I stood for you and cried for you, those days and nights where I put stones on my stomach for you. You forgot all of that. You could not just hold your own, right? I don't want to disappoint the Prophet ﷺ. So I just request one thing, oh Allah, that if you're going to do my hisab and my accountability, do not do it in front of the Prophet ﷺ." So this ayah, every time I think of Surah Nisa, my mind goes first to this ayah and then other ayahs. So that's
Mufti Sahab. So there's a lot of happening in the surah with the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah.
A lot of verses related. "Man yuti'ir rasula faqad ata Allah, wa man yushaqil Allah wa rasul, wa man yushaqil rasula." You know. So we have so many verses here that are pertaining to the Prophet ﷺ. "Wa man yuti' Allah wa rasula fa'ulaika ma'al ladina." So we're going to that. But again, anybody that's on social media, on Facebook and YouTube, please share and comment as we're having this discussion. Like I said, if you hear something good, say wahwa wahwa or subhanallah, alhamdulillah, something, so we can Mufti Sahab, that Miftaah cup, mashallah. I don't want to get distracted, but Mufti Sahab, there is a poem of Imam Shafi'i that you have triggered and I have to kind of paraphrase. I'm not going to say the thing. He said, "Man nala minni aw aliqtu bi dhimmati, abra'tuhu lillahi shakiran minna, أرى معوق مؤمنا يوم الجزاء أو هل أنا سوء محمد في أمتي." He says, anyone that has done anything wrong to me, من نال مني أو علقت بذمتي, anyone that has done anything wrong to me, I forgive them. أبرأته لله شاكرا منه. And the reason why I forgive them, أرى معوق مؤمنا يوم الجزاء, do I want to cause a believer, a man or woman, to be delayed their entrance into paradise or be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tossed into the fire of hell because of me not forgiving them? We know that people will not be forgiven. If you have slandered someone, if someone has slandered you, and someone has wronged you, they will not be forgiven until you don't forgive them. So do you want to be a person that wants to be the obstacle, the barrier for someone's forgiveness? And the last part is what Iqbal said, "Oh, hal asu'a Muhammadin fi ummati." Do I want to be the person who troubles the Prophet ﷺ in the matter of his ummah? Like, do I want to be the person that the Prophet ﷺ is going to be worried about in the day of judgment because this person, another few people are not forgiven and he has to stand up longer and do sajda and cry? So that's something that I wanted to also touch on that discussion. Mufti Sahab, so we're going to go down and there's in the same page almost, there are verses that are referring to the Prophet ﷺ. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا لِيُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And then there's a verse that I read in Qurtubi, the tafsir of this, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ. And when these people, they do wrong, right? They wrong themselves and they make mistakes and they come to the Prophet ﷺ, جَاءُوكَ, and they would make mistakes and they will come to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, ask Allah to forgive us. فَاسْتَغْفَرُ وَاسْتَغْفَرُ اللَّهُ Rasul. They would ask Allah for forgiveness, and the Prophet ﷺ, remember we talked about the Prophet asking forgiveness for the people of Uhud yesterday, and the Prophet ﷺ seeks forgiveness for them, لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. Allah would guarantee 100% forgive their sins, inshallah. لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. So this man, post the Prophet ﷺ's life, you know, in Allama Atabi rahimahullah in time, this man, he comes to the Prophet ﷺ's grave. And he's, of course, not in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ, but he believes that if he was in the presence of Rasulullah, he would tell the Prophet ﷺ his sins. He would confess, and he would ask Allah's Rasul ﷺ to make dua for him. So he comes there with a very heavy heart, with a heavy backpack of sins. And he says, man, jitu mustaghfiran bidhunubi. I have come with a whole load of sins. And if the Prophet ﷺ was alive, I would have definitely ask the Prophet ﷺ to forgive, make dua for me. Mufti Sahib, this person said a poem. That this poem today is written on the walls of the Prophet ﷺ's grave. And the audience today is going to listen to this poem. And if I don't get a wahwa, or mashallah, or a dua from the audience, I'm going to be very limited in giving my poems away. Okay? And this poem is, and I read this poem every time I go to the Prophet ﷺ's grave. May Allah take us there more often. Say Ameen. May Allah take us to Medina. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us to Makkah and enjoy the company of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions there. Qulu Ameen.
Ameen.
This person comes and he says, Ya khayra man dufinat bilqa'i a'zamu, fataba min tibihinna alqa'u wal akamu, نفس الفداء لقبر أنت ساكنه فيه العفاف وفيه الجود والكرم أنت الشفيع الذي ترجى شفاعته على الصراط على ما زلت القدم وصاحباك فلا أنساهما أبدا منا السلام عليكم ما جرى القلم. He says, you know, this وَيَا خَيْرَ مَنْ دُفِنَتْ, the greatest human that is ever.
This poem is, he mentioned it on the grave of the Prophet ﷺ because he came asking.
The grave of the Prophet. Yeah, he mentioned at the grave of the Prophet.
And he came asking for forgiveness. He wanted, in those days, it was a common understanding that if you want to be forgiven for a sin, you have a lot of sins, come ask the Prophet for forgiveness. You also ask Allah for forgiveness. But this man comes, by the time he gets to the Prophet has already passed away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now he stands there and he's just out of his sheer emotion, he says these poems, and this poem is now engraved on the grave of the Prophet ﷺ, right?
On the wall. Yeah.
On the wall.
Of course, we don't believe in, of course, we don't come to the Prophet ﷺ's grave to ask him to make dua, forgiveness, but we're asking Allah to forgive us.
Yeah.
But he said this out of a heavy heart.
Yeah.
And he said this poem, he was crying to Allah. He was expressing his love for the Prophet ﷺ to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So, ya khayru man dufinat bilqa'i a'zamu. Oh, the greatest human after being buried into the earth, the entire earth has become beautified. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ground, the earth, everything has become full of fragrance because of Prophet ﷺ. While he walked on the earth, he was beautiful. When he's resting in the grave, his fragrance has lit up the ground. You know, that's why Imam Ali radiallahu anhu said, Mufti Sahib, you know this poem, ماذا على من شم تربة أحمد ألا يشم مدى الزمان غواليا. You know, what do you know about the smell of the fragrance of the grave of the Prophet ﷺ? ألا يشم مدى الزمان غواليا. Nobody has smelled something this beautiful. سبت علي مصائب لو أن سبت الأيام عدنا لياليا. Nevertheless, in a nutshell, this summary of this poem, he says, فطاب من طيبه القاء والأكم. May my body be sacrificed for the one resting in this grave. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فيه العفاف وفيه الجود والكرم. The extent of generosity, kindness, forgiveness rest in this grave. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what's written on the pillars. This extension is in the tafsir. أنت الشفيع الذي ترجى شفاعته. You are the one whose intercession will be accepted when you intercede. Mufti Sahib, where is the Prophet ﷺ going to be interceding when all the Anbiya are going to say nafsi nafsi? What is the Prophet ﷺ? Can you give us a little description how the Prophet ﷺ is going to be crying on the day of judgment?
Wallahi, I mean, this is a long hadith. We only have a few minutes left, but in summary,
in a minute, just give us expression.
When everyone will go to all the different prophets, all the prophets will say nafsi nafsi. You know, I'm just worried about myself. I'm just worried about myself. This is the day where, like, it's like the coronavirus today, right? Like, people, the brothers are not meeting brothers. The parents are staying away from the children because, you know, they're afraid to contract the virus. I mean, this is like you could see a glimpse of it already, like, and it's for their own sake. But on the day of judgment, today we're worried about dying. But on the day of judgment, we're worried about going to Jahannam. So everyone is saying nafsi, nafsi. All the prophets will be saying nafsi, nafsi. And when the people come to the Prophet ﷺ, he will just say ummati, ummati. He will not say anything about his family. He will just be worried about his ummah and only his ummah on that day. So that's where he'll be interceding on our behalf, and that's who the Prophet is for us.
Mufti Saab, last night I do this before iftar for my community Flint Islamic Center. We do a 5-10 minute lecture before Maghrib, and I do it every day on the Flint Islamic Center website. And if the people are here on YouTube, please subscribe. And I talked about Mufti Saab. Aisha radiallahu anha said, "Hal tadhkuru ahlikum yawm al-qiyamah." Prophet Aisha asked the Prophet, "Will you remember your family on the day of judgment? Like your family?" And the Prophet said, "Thalatha mawatin la yadhkuru ahadun ahad." There are 3 places where no one will remember anyone. Mufti Saab, can you guess one of them? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, one of them is when they're waiting for their book of deeds. Whether they got it right?
Accurate. When the book of deeds come,
yeah,
right?
Sure. Imagine you're waiting to see, like you're there and the book of deeds are being handed out, and you're not. It's like a person who's waiting. Is it March 12th or March 17th, the day where they get matched for residency, right? They're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then that day on the day of judgment, you're waiting and waiting, and then that day you're gonna forget everybody on that moment.
Mufti Saab, so Prophet said there are 3 places where no one's going to remember anyone. May Allah make it easy for our sisters making dua. Say Ameen. One place is when the book of deeds are given. One is when Mizan, when the deeds of the humans are weighed. May Allah make our good deeds heavier than our bad deeds. Say Ameen. And then the other place is a bridge. When everyone will slip, and this poet saying, "Ala sirati ala ma zallat al-qadam." I want you to be there when I'm slipping and falling to intercede for me. And you know that, right, Mufti Saab? Where is the Prophet going to be on the day of judgment on the bridge?
Right there, waiting for us.
There. He's going to be standing at the end and he say, "Ya Rabb, sallim, sallim. Let them go. They're my ummah." That.
But that hadith, وَأَنَا آخِذٌ بِحُجْزِكُمْ عَنِ النَّارِ.
Ooh. Let me explain that.
Go ahead.
When Mufti Saab, you know what? You explain it. You're better at this.
You got it. Go ahead.
When a Prophet is saying, "I'm holding you by your waist and you're slipping from my hands into the fire of hell."
Allah.
I'm holding you. I'm desperately hoping that you won't fall into the fire of hell. That was the rahmah of Rasulullah in his life, still praying for us all the time. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mufti Saab, the 3. I have another narration. Mufti Saab, your turban's gonna fly off when I tell you this one. Right, Mufti Saab? When I tell you this one, Mufti Saab, you are going. I know you're laughing, but it is so. I'm serious. This is a very important hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, Anas radiallahu anhu asked the Prophet ﷺ, Aina atlubuka yawm al-qiyamah? The $1 million question, where can I find you on the day of judgment? Like, when I come to pick you up or you come to pick me up from the airport and you say to me, where are you? What gate? What door? Where do I find you? I said, this terminal, this airline. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, as Anas is asking one of his closest companions who served him for 10 years, where he was always around the Prophet in Medina, but where can I find you on the day of judgment, Mufti Saab? You know what he said? Where no one is going to remember anyone, the Prophet is going to be there. Utlubni inda sirat. Look at the bridge. La ilaha illallah. Utlubni inda al-mizan. Look, if you don't find me there, find me at the scales. And if you don't find me there, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite us there. Mufti Saab, find me, guess where? In the hawd, at the pond. فَمَنْ شَرِبَ مِنْ لَمْ يَظْمَعْ بَعْدَهُ أَبَدٍ. Anyone that drinks from that pond, Allahu Akbar, Mufti Saab, they will never get thirsty again. It's like a key to Jannah, the path to Jannah. That's it, you made it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that. Those are the places where Prophet ﷺ, and this person was saying this, وعلى ما زلت القدم وصاحبك, your companions, فلا أنساهم أبدا منا السلام عليكم ما جل القلم. May the salam of Allah, my salam and the greetings be sent to you as long as the pens of the world write on the Sahaba and Abu Bakr, Umar, and the Prophet ﷺ.
John, and we'll conclude with the next ayah on the same page, right? So like, what we know that the Prophet ﷺ is waiting for us on the day of judgment. Think about it. You never thought about this for a second? Like, what was the motivation of Sahaba or people like Imam Bukhari or Imam Shafi? What was their motivation? Like, they were already awliya Allah. They're seeing the du'as being accepted. What was their motivation? And one interesting thing that's mentioned about their motivation is something that we get from the statement of Umar al-Khattab anhu. He says, I wish if I had these 3 accolades of Ali bin Abi Talib, if I had these 3, any one of them, I would have given him the entire world full of red camels.
Wow.
3 things, right? And he says,
red camels mean in our context.
Means like the best exotic cars in the world. I'll give him the entire world and whatever it contains, right? Yeah. And like I mentioned, all 3. So the first one of them, I'm not going to say all 3. One of them is the fact that the Prophet Sallallahu said to Ali, أَمَا تَرْضَى أَن يَكُونَ مَنْزِلُكَ أَمَا مَنْزِلِي فِي الْجَنَّةِ. You'll be happy if your place is in front of my place in Jannah. The fact that the Prophet guaranteed Ali a place next to the Prophet in Jannah. Ajib, like that was Umar. I mean, of course, Umar knows that he's going to be there, but just the fact that Ali got it, it was said to Ali, right? Imam Malik rahimahullah has been quoted to have said, like, we're not competing for Jannah, we're competing to be next to the Prophet in Jannah. Right?
Oh.
We want to be next to the Prophet. So yeah, we get to Jannah, but imagine, and this was the sentiment of that Sahabi, who kept on coming back to the Prophet, kept on coming back. And the Prophet,
it's like saying, I'm not competing just for the race, I'm competing to become like gold medal.
Yeah. And so for example, that this comes from that one, very simple Sahabi whose name is not even mentioned in the books of Hadith, who keeps on coming back into the masjid. He comes to the Prophet's masjid, goes back home, comes back, goes back home. The Prophet stops him and says, "What's going on here? Like, why you keep on coming back and going?" And he says, "Ya Rasulullah, I go home, I remember your beautiful face, I remember your gathering, and I'm restless at my house with my family, so I come back and steal a glance of your beautiful face. It stays in my mind, and as soon as it starts dwindling from my mind, I come back to see your face again, to capture that moment again. This was a real life moment." And then he says, "Ya Rasulullah, but when I get back home and I start thinking, what's going to happen to me on the day when I die and when you leave this world, will I be able to see you in Jannah?" And the Prophet,
just let the audience know how obsessive they were to see the Prophet ﷺ. I talked about this a few days ago, but these people were so obsessed just to see the Prophet ﷺ. To a certain extent, there are some narrations that even the people who hated the Prophet when they accepted Islam, they say we could not fill our eyes with the love of the Prophet. So there was like, like people are not used to looking at people for so long, right? Like a spouse after like 5 seconds, oh my God, same person.
No. Why you keep on mentioning spouse examples? I'm going to speak to your wife about this.
I can relate to it. I don't understand. But Mufti Sahab, but your children, you look at your children, they're so beautiful. You look at your spouse, they're so beautiful, right? You enjoy it. But the Sahaba enjoyed the Prophet ﷺ so much, they couldn't, like Abdullah bin Rawaha, Mufti Sahab, Mu'ta. What happened? He stayed one more salat compared to Jummah behind because he knew he was going to die. So he didn't go and he wanted to stay behind to pray one more salat behind the Prophet ﷺ, right? And the Prophet reprimanded him for that, but he chose to do that. And I talked about how they all used to just be around the Prophet ﷺ, look at him, enjoy his view, and not to have, in this narration that you're saying, where the Sahabi is worried, saying that if where the words go, إِذَا ذَكَرْتُ مَوْتِي وَمَوْتَكَ عرفت أنك إذا دخلت الجنة رفعت مع النبيين وإني إذا دخلت الجنة خشيت أن لا أراك. Mufti Sahab.
Ajib.
Can you imagine he's saying that? So when you enter Jannah and I enter Jannah, you're going to be elevated to the next level. I'm going to be this person in an average,
From that hadith, you can tell that these people, they already had this confidence in Allah that they're going to enter Jannah.
Oh, yeah.
They're not worried about that anymore. They're worried about the Prophet being elevated so they can't see him anymore. And then the Prophet ﷺ did not have an answer at that moment. He said, "What a beautiful question."
Mufti Sahab, there are Sahaba that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ask me any dua, I will grant you." Rabi'a ibn Ka'b, ask me any dua, right? And the Prophet ﷺ asked, "Salni fa'utika." And he says, "Ya Rasul, as'aluka murafaqataka fil Jannah." Like they could ask for anything, but they're asking to be with the Prophet ﷺ in Jannah.
That's it. That was their motivation. Ka'b bin Ujra, Ka'b bin Ujra anhu is the khadim, the servant of the Prophet ﷺ, day and night. And the Prophet ﷺ is so marveled by his khidmah, the fact that he used to sleep right outside the house of the Prophet ﷺ. When he would open the door, he would be sitting right there, waiting for his service. One day the Prophet comes, opens the door, and he's sitting right there, waiting to serve him. The Prophet says, "Ya Ka'b, ask what you want, and inshallah, if I don't have it, I'll ask Allah to grant it to you." What does he say? "As'aluka murafaqataka fil Jannah." "Oh Prophet of Allah, I just want to be with you in Jannah." So this ayah over here, in conclusion, talks about this. وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ, ayah number 16.
Before we go to the ayah, the Sahabi asked the Prophet that question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the Prophet was speechless.
Speechless.
That is unbelievable that a Sahabi asked the Prophet a question and he didn't have an answer. And then Allah sends Jibreel from the skies, "Please give us the answer." So all of our listeners and our viewers can get that answer, and we can aspire and believe and dream and want to be with the Prophet, inshallah, ya Rab. Qulu ameen.
So the answer was, وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ, the one who obeys Allah and His Rasul. And the tafsir of this obeying Allah and His Rasul in Surah Hujurat. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُقَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدِي اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. What does ita'at of Allah and His Rasul mean? Make sure the hukam of Allah, the commandments of Allah and the sunnah of Allah is in the front seat and your desires and your wishes on the back seat. The one who lets the hukam of the commandments of Allah and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ dictate their life, Allah is guaranteeing that person. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ, that they will be with the great ones. And is there any better place to be with as a neighbor to the Prophet ﷺ, the Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam? So for us, the takeaway today is every single time we have to ask, if we want to do something, ask ourselves, what is the hukm of Allah? What is the command of Allah in this condition? And what is the sunnah of the Prophet in this condition? And not just be like, it's just the sunnah and leave it alone. Because the ones who do that, I'm afraid we might get into Jannah, but we want to be next to the Prophet in Jannah.
Like they said, Mufti Sahib, the companions practiced the sunnah because it was sunnah, and we leave the sunnah because it's sunnah.
Allahu Akbar. So may Allah make us among those who are closer to Allah and His Rasul, inshallah.
I ask you, like, what is that one tip that can hopefully we can earn to be with the Prophet in Jannah? I'll give you my choice of the advice, but what is your choice of advice that this could, inshallah, guarantee me a place in Jannah with the Prophet?
Honestly, to me, what's is closer to me is sleeping at night without any grudges. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. إن أرجى عملي عندي ألا آذيت أحدا بلساني ولا يكن في قلبي غش لأحد.
Who was that?
Abu Dujana anhu, when he was asked, what is the amal that you have the most hope for on the day of judgment, that Allah will forgive you and guarantee you Jannah because of that amal?
And he's the guy who took the sword of the Prophet in Uhud, right?
Yeah, he participated in Badr, Uhud, all the different battles, right? Abu Dujana has all the accolades in the world, but the one amal that he had the most hope for on the day of judgment was the fact that I have never hurt anyone's feelings with my tongue, nor do I have any ill feelings in my heart against anybody. And to me, these two things, not hurting someone with their tongue, and if you do, begging them for forgiveness, and in your heart, if someone hurts you or does something to you, just forgiving them and not having anything.
You're almost about making me cry. I'm about to cry. I don't want to mess up my makeup, so I'm not going to cry. But that is so beautiful, what you just said. Clean heart. My advice would be the Prophet ﷺ said two things. Whoever raises a daughter, two daughters, man ala jariyatin, whoever raises two daughters properly, correct, and teaches them Islam, not for sons but daughters, and gets them married with the foundation of Islam and the love of Allah and His Prophet, they will be next to the Prophet in Jannah. Mufti Sahib, I know you don't have a daughter. I got one daughter, so make dua. That can get me. And there's some mothers who have many daughters. And people look at this as something aib or something belittling. Daughters of the Prophet's only children that survived with daughters, right? And to have two daughters, Mufti Sahib, that's your ticket to paradise. Like, why wouldn't you want a daughter? She's your ticket to paradise. Yeah. I know you're making dua for a daughter, so make dua in Ramadan. But then another way I think it's really crucial. Ana wa kafi yatim kahatini fil jannah. Someone that sponsors an orphan. Someone that takes care of needy person, an orphan. Who are these? فَمَنْ لِلْيَتَامَى, Mufti Sahib. So many orphans in refugee camps, and we have so much food and so much money. If we sponsor a few of these people, inshallah, Mufti Sahib, you and me and all of our listeners could be with the Prophet in Jannah. So that's my takeaway on this.
Jazakallah khair, all the listeners and viewers that came on. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully we all benefit. Make dua for us that Allah.
Listeners, Mufti Sahib, to get their entire family, their entire city, the entire world to join us and listen to us. You never know, one person can practice what we're learning and we're saying, and they can get us into Jannah too, Mufti Sahib.
Inshallah. But just stop saying Mufti Sahib, man. They're going to think like you. I told you, I'm paying you every time you're saying Mufti Sahib. Like I have some money for you or something.
We'll talk about that later. Yalla, assalamu alaikum.